So this all started when within the working group, we started an international survey to get a sense of what career path challenges are around the world and how can we overcome these challenges. And what we found was a surprising, consistent set of top 5 challenges that everybody around the globe reported in very consistent ways. These are sort of in maybe the most obvious way, funding, of course. We already had quite a bit of time discussing this yesterday, so we will not talk so much about that today, but a lot of the other aspects that were covered as recognized as big challenges relate to impact. One of them is a lack of recognition of the value that imaging scientists bring to their institutions, a mismatch between the technical and the academic career paths that are available, and that imaging scientists in core facilities don't really fit into those predefined buckets in different institutions. Difficulties in recruiting and retaining talent related around lack of recognition, and then, of course, lack of appropriate training opportunities. So within the working group, we've then sort of based on this, developed a set of international recommendation. You can find that under the QR code here. And a big part of what in the development of this set of recommendations was thinking about how we can really make the broad and very diverse range of impacts of imaging scientists visible. And this is very much in line with what Susan was presenting, that the imaging facilities cover all sorts of different technologies and application areas, but imaging scientists also do this very broad range of different tasks, from training to connecting people across disciplines, to advocating and doing outreach to the high school students, for example, as acting with knowledge transfers towards industry, ensuring that the quality of science is maintained. And similarly, when it comes to applications, also having these many broad different tasks makes it more difficult to really communicate impact, especially as a lot of these things do not fall into the classical academic impact metrics. So within the working group, we are now trying to sort of tackle this challenge with a two-pronged strategy. The first is sort of in recognition of the world is as it is, and we have to play within the system as we have it. How can we ensure that imaging scientists are better recognized within traditional academic metrics? And I'll highlight some of the activities around this. And then in parallel, trying to change the world a bit? How can we advocate for better metrics that really cover and include all of the different things that imaging scientists in core facilities do? So coming back to the first point, we've been running a big international survey around the current status of authorship and acknowledgement of imaging scientists in core facilities. This is still open. We've already got more than 300 responses, but we want more. So I would like you all to please take out your phones now. If you haven't replied to this yet, take out the phone, open the QR code, and in the lunch break after the session, please fill this in. We really want to have a very broad representation of all this information, of your current stages and your current struggles and solutions and brilliant ideas of how to solve these issues. What we've seen so far from this data, though, is that the authorship for core facility staff, so we see a very interesting distribution that I've looked a lot at this data and tried to figure out, what is the best statistical description of this distribution here. And I think we see that, the story is a bit mixed. We see that there's a part where, that's pretty good. We, of course, right, in an ideal world, we want everybody always to get full credit and authorship for the work they do. But, this is the real world. And we see a distribution here in an area where I think we are happy with that. We see a big distribution on a meh. That's okay. It's a bit of a coin toss. Sometimes you get the acknowledgement, sometimes you don't. But then I think this area is much more worrying. We see a significant percentage of respondents to our survey who very rarely get the proper acknowledgement in authorships, particularly when they contribute to the scientific and methodological development behind publications, but are not recognized for that. And that is something that is a real problem. When it comes to the visibility in the acknowledgement sections, the story looks maybe a little bit better. We see most of the respondents saying that most of them are at least often recognized, which, that's a wide range of interpretations as well behind that. But there is still a group of people who are rarely or never acknowledged, and that is, again, a problem that we try to tackle. And so what can we do? What are the targets for trying to tackle that problem? So we asked in our survey, who is promoting the proper recognition of the core facility staff? Where are their active steps being taken? There is a chunk of places where there's just nothing happening. We just like, oh, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. There are a few institutions that are driving this, or departments, but in most cases, it's really up to the core facilities themselves. And this is where really what the working group wants to do comes in, to target both the institutions, as well as really equip the imaging scientists in the core facilities with the tools for self-advocacy to help you advocate towards your users as well as towards the institutions. And the institutions are really here the critical areas where a lot of them do either have no policies, or where policies are in place, they are really unclear. This I will go over very quickly because actually Susan already mentioned this and Yara mentioned this yesterday as well. We have this updated version of the acknowledgement paper, also available in a lot of different languages. There are still a couple of versions of the English printed at the resource table, so you can come pick that up if you haven't already, and then post it at your facility, hopefully. Okay, so I will just very quickly wrap up and introduce actually sort of the rest of the session, because we have also been thinking about how we can recognize the broader impact of imaging scientists beyond publications. And this is building on a case study on the CZI program funding imaging scientists. And we will actually hear after my talks, I will keep this part short, from 3 grantees from this program who will tell us their stories. We have collected data from about half of the grantees. If you are a grantee here in the audience, you haven't answered our survey, again, here's the QR code, or you can come find me afterwards. Just very quickly to highlight that funding like this really enables a very, very broad range of different activities that really cover this whole range of impacts, from training, technical development, community building, advocacy and policy work, as well as quality control and instrument maintenance. I will skip this, I think, in the sake of time, and just point out that without this kind of funding, this work either doesn't get done, or it really relies on imaging scientists and core facilities doing this on top of their regular workload in their free times, because it is not commonly recognized as part of their roles. So funding programs like this are incredibly essential for allowing all these various different types of impact. And we'll hear more testimonials from the 3 imaging scientists here, but just to really pull out here, all of the people who responded to this were talking about this grant being transformative, life-changing, unique. So this can have real impacts on both the personal as well as on the scientific and community level in the larger ecosystem. And with that, I'm at the end. I would like to thank everybody who's replied to all our surveys, the working group co-chairs, both our former co-chairs, Kelly and Graham, who did a lot of this work in the beginning, and my co-chair, Michelle, at the moment, and all our working group members. We have a really big working group, and everybody's really important in contributing and sharing their perspectives on this work.